Happy Monday, everybody. The day after the Super Bowl. It's the Paul Rodriguez Show coming live from Studio 44. What a game last night. Producer James back in the building. How goes it this Monday, James?
It's going great,
Nice, man. So let down by Kansas City. So let down by the offensive tackles for the Chiefs. But let's just give a big hand to the man literally creating the myth and the legend as he goes on into his 20th year, 10th Super Bowl appearance, fifth Super Bowl MVP, and 7th Super Bowl title, Tom GOAT Brady. I think his middle name is really Michael, but it's going to be changed over to the GOAT. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations to those hitters that they brought in, Fournette, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Suckup, the kicker. So all those guys they brought in through free agency all scored. We'll talk about the prop bets probably in the third quarter of the hour. I did okay. I was 4 of 2 on the night. I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5 of 2. 5 of 2 on the night. So we'll talk about that probably here in the third part of the hour. But it was a game that a lot of people probably were not excited about just because the scoring from KC didn't exist. No touchdowns in that game. Lots of defense. They probably should have had 2 touchdowns. One hit Tyreek in the face and one hit, I think, Pringle in the face right through their hands. And that was one of those throws where Mahomes is literally parallel with the ground. Goes right through his hands. You kind of just think to yourself, how the hell does he get that ball off being chased? And I think he jumped off or his last foot touching the ground was that turf toe foot. And for him to have that much velocity on the ball, that much core strength in the ball there, and for the ball to have so much velocity, it goes through his hands and hits him in the face. James, what was your take last night? Was this Brady continuing his legacy, or was this a letdown by Mahomes and the Chiefs?
I think it was Brady, more on Brady. I mean, he was playing amazing. He played great, played very well. Poor Patrick.
Is it poor Patrick or is it poor offensive line? Because for me, the game plan to stop Tom Brady was to do exactly what the Bucs did to Mahomes. And I thought Mahomes could rise above that, just basically off his sheer will. And I think he did, because 2 passes were dropped in the end zone for the Chiefs by an elite receiver in Tyreek Hill. Some people may say not. But then another guy who's in the end zone and drops the ball, and then a huge third down potential conversion dropped by Kelsey, I think early in the first half. And it's like, if those plays go forward and they score touchdowns, instead of it being 9-3 maybe, or 9-31 in the fourth quarter, maybe it's 17 to the 31. Now you're down by what, 16 at that? No, 14 at that time. So it's like, that's more of a game that's competitive. I think the confidence for the receivers for Kansas City would have been on point. People would have been more comfortable going in. The defense probably played a little bit better on the KC side, but the Todd, got to give Todd Bowles, got to give up to what's the OC's name for Leftwich for the Buccaneers, Byron Leftwich, to give it up to those coordinators for having the game plan to go in and correct the mistakes. And shame on Eric Bieniemy. I like Eric Bieniemy. I think he's a great offensive mind, but if you know you have suspect tackles, it's like, dude, let's run the ball. Edwards-Helaire was able to get enough yards last night. He had 60 on the night. Get Edwards-Helaire in routine. Get the offensive line running downhill, and make it easier for Pat to get the ball open, because with those safeties playing split safety coverage for Tampa Bay the whole night, it's like they're saying, we're not going to let you have anything deep. Put the ball on the ground, take all the throws underneath, and maybe this is that learning curve for Patrick Mahomes to say, look, I know I want the big, deep ball for the touchdown, but maybe I need to start taking what's available underneath, because that's what Tom Brady did. He was throwing screens. He's throwing the ball to Gronk underneath. Will this be a moment that resonates with Patrick Mahomes to where he knows he was goated by Tom Brady, and for him to kind of take over if he does get another opportunity, which I think he will. And that's something that you kind of touched about, how we want to talk about next year's Super Bowl. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the hour. But do you think this is something that will stay with Mahomes and haunt him maybe in the next 2 or 3 years as they're trying to make runs at Super Bowls once more?
I think it's gonna. He's still young. What is he?
25?
25? Yeah, he's still young. He's gonna be all right. He's gonna take it the right way. I feel like. I mean, soak it in. Remember all of this. And the reason I said poor Patrick is he was running for his fucking life.
Well, he was running the majority of the first quarter, which I thought was smart. I was like, okay, he's trying to get those linebackers to loosen up to get the coverage open up in the middle of the field. But you can't do that for 4 quarters. You got to put that weight on your running back. And you kind of ask yourself, like, was Patrick doing those ad-lib runs or was that called? And the way it looked to me was he couldn't throw underneath and he couldn't throw deep. And so he's like, I got to get what I can get here. And that's what he took. So you're just waving your hand at all these pundits at the big network saying, oh, well, Patrick, what if Patrick never gets there? You're saying Patrick will get to another Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Like, what percentage do you think of that being likely?
75%.
So you have a strong feeling he'll be back?
Yeah, I'm very strong. Very strong.
You're strong? Did you hear the way it came out?
Yeah, I did.
All right, I just want to make sure you heard that the way it came out. Now, who was strong last night was Levante David, and for him to play as good a coverage as he did on Kelsey, what I thought was magnificent, because nobody's been able to keep up with him the whole night. Now, again, they did have bracketed coverage, someone over the top helping with the deep ball, but Kelsey just couldn't ad-lib like he used to. I know he had good 4 or 5 passes where he was able to move the sticks a little bit, but for him being clutch, and I think for the game to be put on his shoulders, they just couldn't connect with him and with Patrick Mahomes. And so I'm really hopeful that they can learn from this, because everybody and their mama is going to recreate that defense in the AFC West going into next year. That's talking about Vegas, the Vegas Raiders, the Denver Broncos. Who else we got out there? The Chiefs, and I'm missing one more. Some of y'all help me out in the comments who it is down below. But there's another team who are going to just try to emulate that defense or mimic that defense rather, because the way they were able to pass rush Mahomes. Now, again, those tackles are going to come back. I know Tardif will come back from Canada after COVID's been, vanquished, and hopefully Eric Fisher gets back from his Achilles injury. But Eric Fisher was sorely missed last night. So was Tardif, the Canadian offensive lineman who was able to protect Patrick Mahomes' blind side last year when they made their Super Bowl run. So this is just how critical it is to have all your pieces healthy, in addition to being able to execute. Because a lot of times, if your quarterbacks are running for their lives, you're having a horrible game, and obviously no points are going to be scored in that game that they played. Producer James, you get that other team?
Not yet.
Okay. Just type in AFC West, and they may pop up. So in today's show, we kind of wanted just to recap a little bit. McAfee show. Coin toss. $30,000 coin toss. For those who don't know, Pat McAfee has a show where he put $30,000 on the coin flip at minus 103 odds. And I tuned in. I don't know if you did, but I tuned in to the YouTube show while I was watching the coin toss simultaneously. And so there was a delay. I would probably say there was a good 8 to 9 second delay. And AJ Hawk's on there with him. And so AJ kind of saw it. And AJ called heads, I think, on Friday. And so AJ sees the flip. I see the flip at my house, and the McAfee hasn't seen it yet. And so he's kind of like getting ready, anticipating that coin toss. And when Kelsey called heads and it landed on heads, and I'm watching the reaction, you just see the sunkenness that McAfee goes into. I just knowing $30,000 was just lost on one prop bet for that game. But I mean, that's That's gambling, I guess.
The Los Angeles Chargers. is the team
Chargers.
that
There
you're
we go.
leading. Yeah.
That's the other one. Yeah, the pesky Chargers, man. Justin Herbert. Have you ever heard his name pronounced Herbe or Herber, like the French way? I'm not French, so I'm not gonna properly pronounce it. But yeah, apparently some people are out there where, yeah, this is Justin Herbert or Herbe, and I'm just like, it looks like Herbert to me, like that good restaurant in San Marcos, Texas. I don't know. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get into a break real quick. We'll be back. We'll talk a little bit about these few offers that kind of came in over the weekend. Not too much going on for the Super Bowl. And then we'll get into a little bit of Dark Side and the crossover pop and shot show from Saturday, just to kind of dabble with that. We'll be back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into a little bit of the recruiting out of the Lone Star State. Not too much going on right now with the Austin area, but for those who don't know, Recon Athlete does cover the majority of the state as best we can. We're trying to grow our brand in the Rio Grande Valley. So I want to give a quick shout out, somebody who we've been following a long time, and that's Mr. AJ Gonzaque out of Veterans Memorial in the Mission Consolidated Independent School District. He has committed and will be taking his 3-star talent to the University of Texas San Antonio. Hashtag Birds Up. Man, I don't know if you know this, James, but there's a quarterback in Sherryland, which is right there on the border in McAllen, Mission area. His name is Eddie Lee Marburger, and he's also committed to UTSA together. So we got 2 3-star guys over in a couple of schools over in Ed Couch Elsa. There's another 6'5", 295 offensive guard named Ronnie Garza. He's also a 3-star recruit. And all 3 of those guys out of the Rio Grande Valley are going to be joining forces at UTSA coming in the fall. So for them to kind of have that kind of talent growing out of the Rio Grande Valley, something we usually don't see that high. Usually we'll have like 1, but for 3 to kind of come out and them being at different positions that are vital to grow your offense for offensive line, quarterback, and receiver, something very special. So the biggest school in what people call South Texas, UTSA, which for us who know in Texas, UTSA is more of just like the most southern end of Central Texas in my comparison, but that's arguable. For them to go kind of join at UTSA being a very solid program, and I actually had some time to live near campus when I had just graduated, and I had buddies of mine who were still at UTSA, and it's like a small town feel around the campus, but then you go a few exits down, and you have these huge shopping areas. You have downtown that's probably like 25 minutes away from the campus. And so you have a small town feel in the university, but smack dab in one of the biggest cities in the United States and especially in Texas. So shout out to UTSA to garner up that talent. AJ did reach out to us through our direct message and asked if we could get that custom post. I did see his commitment yesterday, so I just wanted to wish him well. AJ, we're looking forward to seeing y'all ball out there at UTSA. So wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. James, you go ahead.
What determines? I know what determines, like, as far as your star, 4-star, 3-star.
Mm-hmm.
But who determines that? Is there like some sort of like ranking system or people that?
Yeah, so there is kind of like a guideline. So 5-star recruits are guys who are going to go to the highest level who can contribute as freshmen. 4 stars are guys who are going to be able to go to your elite programs and maybe be a starter after year 2 or 3. And then you have guys who are 3-star recruits who are going to be contributors probably on special teams, but then it'll probably be starters like their senior years. And it kind of varies. It kind of just depends, but those are kind of like guidelines. I guess they have 2-star and also 1-star as well. But depending on who the individual for Recon does it, that's me. I'm the one who does it. And what I have a guideline is I'm looking at your position. I'm looking at what you've done on the field against similar competition to yourself. And if you're not facing similar competition, you got to ball. You got to jump off the screen, and you got to show me if you're going to be that person who's going to, move the needle. Are you going to be able to ball when you get to the next level? And don't get me wrong, like nobody's 100% on their evaluations, but you kind of have to take into consideration level of competition, how many years they've been playing, what type of, what do their grades look like? What does their skill look like? What does, are they a coachable young person? Do they take criticism well? Those kind of factors. And you can kind of get that from coaches, and you can also kind of get that by watching them play, especially when it plays over and they get a little coaching on the side. You can kind of see their reaction. But for Recon, I'm the one who does that. And I believe personally, we've moved a couple of people and helped expose a couple of people in the Austin area going back to 2019 who have, really not had big offers, and we come in and we make an analysis of that athlete, and once the right, big people get their view of that athlete, it kind of just pops from there. And I'm not saying we're the ones who make that needle move. I'm just saying we're the type of individuals who will give a different aspect of that recruit. And if somebody believes in them, then they'll kind of make that next step to offer and kind of get them on campus through their recruiting. But to answer your question directly, for recon, I'm the one who does it.
Okay.
You kind of got me off track a little bit. Oh, that's right. I wanted to talk a little bit about the wild show y'all had Saturday night with the crossover with Darkside and Pop and Shots. And Tom Cruise, the one thing that stuck out to me besides the fantasy wrestling, which I'll let you talk about as the show began, but I needed to call Tom Cruise out, man. Because I'm saying that Tom Cruise watched my show Friday and heard Papa Romeo's prognostication, his guess of the score, because Saturday night, just 24 hours later, Tom Cruise gave the exact same answer that Papa Romeo gave on my show. Tampa Bay for the dub, but the final score would be 38-32. So I want to know, Tom Cruise, if you're watching tonight, leave in the comments or talk to James, send a message, reach out to us, and I want to know, did you bite that? Did you jock that a little bit from Papa Romeo? I want to know. Just let me know. Be honest. If it was all you, okay, great. But I'm just saying, man, it was a little sus when I heard that. I was like, wait a damn minute. I know that score. And so I reached out to Papa Romeo and said, hey man, you got some fans out there who are taking your score. And I told him if it was all him, then shout out to Tom Cruise for guessing that right, like Papa Romeo. But to hear that just random score 2 nights in a row, and you hear it from Tom, and you initially hear it from my dad, it's like, what the hell's in Lockhart Water right now if they're giving out these kind of scores, right? But back to the fantasy. I don't know how would you describe that kind of back and forth that Saturday night between those guys? It was about fantasy football, so I'll set it up real quick. These guys were all in a fantasy football league together. There was some highly questionable waiver wire pickups and drops that came to a head where the commissioner decided to remove a player that was previously dropped by one of the co-hosts on Pops and Shots. And with that transaction, the commissioner who removed that player ended up winning the championship. And I'll let James pick it up from there.
Yeah, had he not done that, he would have lost.
Yeah, he'd have lost the game, right?
That it's not like, well, that was fucked up, but it didn't impact the game. It totally.
And so, what was on the line?
The fantasy football championship.
How much money was on the line?
I think they have like I think they said like 350 first place.
So it was a substantial amount of money that was on the line, where this movement had greatly impacted the two teams to where what it looked like Saturday night was some straight up fantasy hate. Yeah. But the two guys going back and forth, I would have loved to seen it initially whenever it went down.
They have a belt also that they like their trophy. It's like a wrestling belt that they pass around, or they don't pass around. The winner gets it.
So these guys are going like straight WWE style, or what?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I'd be like, the money's great, but at this point, as long as I've been playing fantasy, I just want a championship. Like I want to be like, yeah, I want a fantasy football championship. That's just the kind of guy I am. Which I have my own heartache in my own league, and yeah, but yeah, so
what was it like sitting so close to that heat, that like animosity between these two? Because if y'all go watch this show on Darkside, it was y'all's most recent episode.
Yeah, episode 117.
If you go in, it's probably about within the first 5 minutes. I mean, it just starts popping off between these two. And James, how far you're what, like maybe like 5 feet away?
6 feet.
Oh, you're 6 feet away? Oh, I'm sorry. You're 6 feet away. I digress. Excuse me. James is 6 feet away, but the heat, man, I'm sure coming off both of them. And they're like, it's like no love lost has gone missing between them.
No. I could have swore they're ready to throw down afterwards.
I mean, it always almost seemed as if they wanted just to run it back real quick. And didn't one of the individuals like leave the league due to that fact?
Yeah, there's actually been multiple individuals, because it's. I mean, it's nobody agrees with what the commissioner, which is Gabriel. Shout out Gabriel Bali. Nobody agrees with it, which I didn't agree with it. I saw why he did it, but rules are rules. You know, if it's not in the rules, then you have to sidestep. It should be a vote, I don't know why they don't have a veto system in place.
Yeah, that was one thing that I kind of heard where, because in our league, in the Recon Fantasy League, there is an ability to veto if everybody kind of comes together and makes the vote. But again, in our league, I was the commissioner, and I made it very clear to a lot of people, if you do things that I don't see fit with, you're out. And I don't care if your feelings get hurt or not. I'm going to let it be known, like, hey, this is the way it's going to happen. Now, I'm going to make it as democratic as I can. But what should have happened in that instance, I don't give a damn if they were needing a poll and it was Christmas. I don't care what day it was. What should have happened was there should have been an opportunity for everybody to hop into a meeting real quick. And you could have put a poll on Facebook Messenger. If everybody's in the Facebook Messenger, look, you're all going to get an opportunity to see it. You're all going to get an opportunity to vote real quick. It doesn't have to be through the ESPN app. Now, I don't disagree with what's the commissioner's name?
Gabriel.
I don't disagree with Gabriel did. And I don't disagree with what was the other gentleman's name?
Jason,
yeah. So Jason and Gabriel. Now, I think they were both wrong. And the reason I think they were both wrong was because Jason had no business telling anybody he was dropping a player. Now, with that being said, it happened.
It's collusion.
Now, again, that's one way to describe it. Another way to describe it is cheating, because you're telling another individual players available before everybody else, including the Gabriel. So, with that being said, what should have ended up happening was what did occur, and Gabriel took the guy off his team, and Gabriel ended up winning. Now, Gabriel should have said, the reason I'm taking this guy off of the team is because you decided to give somebody insider information about a player who is going to potentially be a game-winning contributor. Now, my other question when I heard this is, how come if he cleared waivers, now this gets into pro Jason, if he cleared waivers, and we're talking about D-Hop, that's the player in question. If DeAndre Hopkins cleared waivers, everybody had an opportunity to get him. But if the person Jason told knew DeAndre Hopkins would be available, he would have the first crack, because nobody in their right mind would think that DeAndre Hopkins would be dropped by a player. And so that further kind of leads me to suspect, if Jason told somebody that D-Hop would be available in spite of Gabriel to potentially lose the Super Bowl, that's collusion and wrong, and what Gabriel did by pulling the player was wrong. So you kind of have to ask yourself, it's like the chicken or the egg, which one came first? And so it's like, no two wrongs are going to make a right. I don't care if we're talking about algebra or not, but you kind of see both sides and you kind of think about it in the commissioner's eyes. I'm like, they should have just said, fellas, what do y'all think? Whoever votes, it counts. If they don't vote, then they didn't get a say, and we can't do anything about it. You saw that with me when I did that a couple of times. It's like, if you vote, great. So whoever votes is going to be counted. And if you don't vote, then you're not going to be counted. So that's the way I would have handled it. Unfortunately, it didn't, and it created for TV gold, internet gold, and it was really fun to kind of see the trash talk going between all three. And then you had Tom Cruise on the edge, and it's not Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible, everybody. It's a different Tom Cruise with Cruise like the vehicle, C-R-U-Z.
Tom Cruise.
Cruises. Not Cruises, but Cruise. And, I saw Tom on the end. He's like, are you jokers really doing this again? Like, I've already heard this for 6 months or probably 2 months. I don't really want to hear it anymore. Maybe that's why he went to go get a snack in the meantime.
You can hear the raw emotions on Pops and Shots on there. They're available on our podcasting platforms.
Now, didn't they say they did a show right after that happened?
Yeah. It's the episode is called Fantasy Football Champion Asterisk, I think is what it is.
Okay, so shout out to Pops and Shots. Go check out that episode. Name it one more time. What's it called?
Fantasy Football Champion Asterisk, I believe.
Yeah, so go search that on all the podcasting platforms and kind of check out that raw emotion. But yeah, just seeing that last night and Saturday, got to spend my evening watching that, was totally entertaining. And you see in the comments, man, y'all have a lot of engagement. So shout out to y'all for getting all those people getting their likes and their laughs and everything. And when I texted "This is gold," one of y'all's followers laughed at what I said, because it was just hilarious to see them so angry about something that's so old, and there's nothing they can do about it now. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we'll talk about some prop bets and that man in Houston, Texas, who made, I think he made $5 million off his $3.46 million bet. We'll be back. Will the real Mattress Mac please stand up? Will the real Mattress Mac please stand up with your $3.46 million bet you placed on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers spread at plus 3.5 points that paid out? Now, James, producer James, I was telling you in the break that this amount for Mattress Mac, now he ran a promo. I think he said that if customers were willing to spend X amount of dollars on certain products in his store, if they met a certain amount, he would then wager that amount and do that on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which they did. The people spoke. He kept his end of the bargain, placed $3.46 million wager on the Tampa Bay spread at 3.5. He got that number early, too, because at game time, the spread was at plus 3 for Tampa Bay. Now, that payout, and we've talked about how to compute those payouts. That payout was odds at minus 110. So the payout for him was he wagered 3.46. He won $3.145 million. So he walked away with a little over $6 million total.
So he won he got people to buy his products at his store.
Yep.
So then he can play. So he just won.
Well, I don't think it had to do with. I think that was the incentive, but I'm pretty sure the dude I'm sure has millions set aside because a couple of years ago he placed a wager on the Houston Astros to win the World Series, and he placed a $13 million bet. So I'm sure he's doing okay, but I know this guy gives back a lot. I know when we had that hurricane in Houston, Harvey, I believe, he was very, very generous with his products in his store and giving back to those who were in need. So this guy, I'm pretty sure, is a big philanthropist and not scared to wager a little money and to give back to the people. So I'm sure he'll have something creative to kind of help out. But just to place that kind of bet, to have that kind of gumption, the cojones, bro, think about how much money that is. $3.46 million to make three, a little over three. You gotta have a set on you, man. You gotta have a set on you to place that kind of wager and to execute, because for some of us, for those who place the bets on the Kansas City side on your props, probably didn't fare too well. No touchdown scored by anybody, only field goals. So if you place bets on the field goal kicker, you did okay. Now for the prop bets I laid out on Friday, with Papa Romeo, my prop bets were. I was taking Antonio Brown, anytime score, plus 225. That paid out. So then we put Gronk at plus 225. And then we also had Fournette at plus one. I want to say 160 or 165. That's another solid bet. I had the under, which paid out as well. And then I had Kansas City. So and I had Travis Kelce, anytime score as well. So out of my 7 bets, out of my 6 bets, I had 4 hit and 2 that did not. Not a bad day. If you're, wagering $25 in those, you came out ahead. But man, it was fun to see Fournette score, AB score. When you have that guess, like when you just throw a guess out there, of course it's an educated guess. Some would call that a hypothesis, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yep. So my hypothesis or prognostications were saying that I liked AB because he hadn't shown up all year. I liked Gronk because he hadn't shown up all year, and I thought the running game with Fournette would play well. The only easy lock I thought I really had was Travis Kelce, and Travis didn't show up. He didn't get on the bus, man. Patrick Mahomes got on the bus. Tyreek Hill didn't get on the bus. McCall Hardman didn't get on the bus. Whitehead, the safety, giving him those 2 fingers with the unsportsmanlike call was also pretty interesting, because if you remember in week 12 when Tyreek was burning the safeties, he put those 2 fingers in the air as he was walking into the end zone. So karma can be a bitch sometimes, but hey, when you got the GOAT under center, number 12, taking care of business, you got to be a sore New England Patriot fan right now. Either you're really happy for Tom, or you're just kicking yourself that Kraft and Belichick let him get out the door with Gronk. Because think about it. Do you think that, what would it have taken to keep Tom Brady and Gronk in New England? Would it have taken Goodman and or Godwin and Evans? Would it have taken two guys like that?
I think he was just ready to. I think he was ready for something new, ready for a new challenge.
Would you think he was sick of Belichick's crap? Like, do you think he was done with his shit?
I think he was tired of the same old thing.
I mean, the same old, right?
He was ready for a challenge, I think.
You think it was a challenge for him this year?
I mean,
because Tom Brady has seen so much ball. He was literally, like, in practices, he's coaching the defense to say, hey, don't show a blitz with your feet. Don't walk up to the line of scrimmage the way you're doing it. You're letting on you're going to blitz. Or him building that cohesiveness with his offensive line when they get a little dinged up midway through the year. Like, was it a challenge, or was Tom able to run things the way he wanted to and just let Leftwich kind of give him a sense of where he needs to be with his play calling?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they would, be able to tell my grandkids and all that shit that I got to see Tom Brady play, like I've said before. And it's
for 20 years.
It's something like great that you knew that him heading to Tampa Bay was Super Bowl or bust. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yep.
So to see him pull it off, and he went through Drew Brees. It was Drew Brees. Who's the other one? Drew Brees that they played in the playoffs. The three quarterbacks.
It was Aaron Rodgers, who you should not forget.
Yeah. Drew Brees.
And then the other quarterback was, I want to say Heinke, the guy who was backing up, or the guy who was replacing Alex Smith because he was hurt in Washington. So it was a no-name street quarterback that they brought into Washington. They took care of business there. Drew Brees, and then Aaron Rodgers, and then now Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
so three potentially perennial Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. They got together at the right time. Everything synced up for them, and you got to give Brady credit. They just do the pieces they brought in, the coaching staff, just everything. It was great. Even though that they went through Green Bay to get to the Super Bowl,
right?
Which I was a little salty, but I was going for Tampa Bay. But if I had to put money, I would go for Kansas City. But it's great to see. I wasn't mad.
So Papa Romeo over here, he's sending me a message because he has my direct phone number, saying that the Bucs were going to swat number 10. That was another one of his like prognostications. Like he's basically saying they were going to handle Tyreek, and they did, man. They put him in check. Now again, he had 10 catches for 133 yards, but he didn't have 3 touchdowns like he did, or 2 touchdowns like he did in Week 12's matchup. Now Tyreek got his, but nobody got in the end zone. He dropped one in the end zone. I think another, I want to say it was Pringle, but I could be wrong. But to let Patrick Mahomes down like that, and the reason I paused was because I went back last night and I remember looking at Mahomes and looking at his eyes, and I was like, when that throw he makes when he is throwing literally parallel to the ground, and the ball's dropped, it goes right through his hands, hits him in the face mask. And they zoomed in on his face mask, and he's like, what do I have to do? And the first thing that popped in my brain was that year Brady lost. And when his wife, Gisele Bündchen, came out and says, Tom can't throw it and catch it at the same time. That's the first thing that popped in my brain, because that is exactly what Tom went through whenever Gisele made those comments. And I was like, will this be that moment of reckoning where Patrick goes out and he spends more time and demands more from his receivers? Is this the moment Patrick Mahomes going from a 25-year-old quarterback to a mastermind who will demand everything from his receivers? Not just demand they play well, but demand their excellence game in and game out, so he never has to feel like this again. Because that's kind of what seems like Tom Brady does. He demands you to be excellent. And if you're not, he ain't throwing you the ball.
It reminds me of kind of like stories of Jordan. Stories of Jordan, how he's, a lot of people see him as an asshole.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, it's greatness. It's perfection.
Right.
You want perfection.
Right. You have a product you want to put out, and you will do everything possible so that your team collectively will put that on the field.
Yeah.
And getting low. But like in the words of Nick Saban, I'm about half fired up right now. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a break real quick. We will come back and finish the last hour. We may go over a little bit of the hour, but that's okay. I'm pretty sure y'all don't mind. We'll talk a little bit more about that game and wrapping things up for this week. But one thing before we go, James, for the people, tell them where they can find your show.
My show, Dark Side of the Mic, me and Austin. You can find us on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Dark Side of the Mic, Facebook, Dark Side of the Mic, and coming soon, darksideofthemic.com. Yeah.
I like it. We'll be back. Welcome back, everybody, to the final part of our show tonight. Congratulations again to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And for all of their fans out there, it was a solid win last night over the Kansas City Chiefs. But not without a little controversy, I'm going to have to say. Tom Brady did come into town. He brought his officials with him. There were 11 flags called against the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 of those flags did end drives, and the third flag did reverse an interception in the red zone for the Kansas City Chiefs. There were 4 flags thrown on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that were meaningless. With that being said, James, was this Super Bowl, do you believe this Super Bowl potentially was already mocked up for Tampa to win, to create high drama moving forward into next year? And this will kind of tie in to what you wanted to end the show with on next year's picks for Way Too Early Super Bowl. Do you believe this was meant to be so that there could be a rematch in Super Bowl 56 between Kansas City and Tampa Bay, leaving the GOAT to maybe go out with 2 back-to-back Super Bowls before he leaves his time in the NFL?
Like, do I think it was fixed?
Yes.
I don't think so.
So you're telling me those 3 calls that I had mentioned, that bogus one where the PI was called against Kansas City when Evans got tripped on the shin of the defender, the other PI that was called where it was called defensive or pass interference, where the offensive player, and I think it was Godwin, throws the DB forward, and they call PI on that one. Then the interception where Tyrann Mathieu, where we have, the bogus flag where Tom goes and talks shit to Mathieu when Matthew's running away from his presence. Now, again, he did engage Tom at the goal line, near the goal line. But then he left, and Tom Brady circles around, and they call the flag on Mathieu. To me, those flags not only preserved the lead for the Buccaneers, but it also, I think, demoralized the Kansas City Chiefs in understanding that they have no rhythm. They can't put the ball in the end zone. They can't catch in the end zone. And they can't block for Mahomes more than like 2 seconds.
Yeah. I think by like it might have even been by halftime, but definitely by like mid to late third quarter they were beat. I felt like you could just tell they were beat already.
So here's an interesting fact on the on ESPN projection. They have a percentage meter on throughout the whole game, and Kansas City led all the way as far as the percentage of victory. They led all the way until minute 54 of the first quarter. It was 51.1% chance that Kansas City would win. Once the clock turned to a minute 54, the odds changed to Tampa Bay winning by 51.9%, and they never looked back. So since the 2-minute area of the first quarter, Tampa Bay had the game full in control, and they were never looking back as they went on to win Super Bowl 55.
I just don't ever like to entertain the fact that there was a lot of people saying the State Farm Bowl, it's rigged to set up Mahomes versus Rodgers. I wish it was.
Because you'd like to see that Super Bowl.
But I don't ever like to just think about that there's Goodell behind the scenes or somebody else being the puppet master, you know. As far as the refs, I do think that the refs, it's a very hard job to do, and sometimes they don't always get it right. But isn't it their job to get it right? True. That is very true. But they're human, you know?
But if that's the case, then we should just have robots sitting in a press box somewhere saying this is clearly definitive a foul and this is not. I understand it's not what people are used to, but at the same time, I think we should explore all technological advances as possible so we could have a better quality game. But if you're going to be calling calls on one side and not consistent with the others, there's going to be a discrepancy people are going to talk about.
Yeah.
And therefore, when there is a discrepancy that is so blatantly obvious, people are going to be upset with that. And I think it's on the officials to try to mitigate that. If you notice their calls heavy on one side, let's keep that flag, unless it's egregious. unless somebody gets tackled to the ground and the ball flies right by them. That's probably a PI we need to call. But if somebody's shin gets nicked and the receiver falls down, as they're trained to do, and you call the PI, which extends the drive, puts the ball right where that 15 yards from where that occurrence happened, it changes the momentum of the game and it changes how this game will, the outcome of this game.
So with that call that you're talking about, they can go back on instant replay and look, can they not? Like on pass interference.
Yeah, but
calls?
there has to be a challenge.
Oh, okay.
And the likelihood of people overturning challenges is not likely.
Yeah.
Humans love to be wrong, right? No, humans don't love to be wrong. And so these people are not going to go against the call they made on the field.
Sure. I saw I forgot her name, the first female to ever officiate.
Yeah, she was getting a little heat.
Yeah.
She was getting a little heat up with those Kansas City players.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. What I blame is the inconsistency of that team holistically, because she's a part of that team. So I'm gonna blame you. I'm gonna blame all y'all. Just like whenever I blame the deficiencies of the Cowboys, I don't blame the players as much. I mean, I'm gonna blame them, but I'm gonna blame Jerry Jones too. I'm gonna blame you. I'm gonna blame all of y'all. That's just the way I see it.
I just don't like. I don't like to. I like the way that I feel is that you shouldn't. It shouldn't be like if you are gonna say you lost because of the refs. Like,
I didn't say they lost. I said they controlled the outcome.
Yeah. There is a difference.
It is kind of the same thing, but
yeah,
maybe not.
There was. I mean, take the NFC Championship game for example. Like, I was like, dude, like, do you guys not have flags? Like they were like inconsistent on both sides. Like they like, where are y'all's flags at?
And isn't that frustrating for the fan who's watching, especially all the games?
Yeah.
If you're watching the three biggest games, AFC conference title, NFC conference title, and the Super Bowl, and you see no flags really being thrown in those conference title games, and in the Super Bowl we have 15 flags. Give me a damn break.
And then especially with the Green Bay game, I know I keep harping on it. The way that the game ended, it was that third down. He had it was that D King. It was clearly pass interference. But I thought I had seen clear pass interference like 5 other times. And I'm like, oh, now it is? Okay. Like, I think they had to make that one because you see the jersey was totally just stretched out. But I'm just like,
Tom and his officials, man.
Everywhere.
I'm just saying, I mean, when you saw that game, he tried to high five the official, right? I'm not saying that Tom has favor with the officials, but I'm saying that Tom may influence the officials.
Do you think he was entertaining the whole fact that everyone says, you know, the refs, that he's always cheating with the refs and all of that? That's what the high five was?
I wouldn't say cheating because I can't prove it.
Yeah.
But I can surely show trends of influence because we see trends of influence. Why in that game with the Packers, that flag, that PI that doesn't get called all game gets called whenever they need to put the ball in the red zone to go score. Oh, flag, Tom Brady put the Bucks, all right. What was the score? It was 14-9. It was 14-6. Was it 14-6? No. It was 21-6. That ball to Evans gets thrown deep, PI. We're going to put the ball in the red zone. It's just inconsistent.
I think there was a drive it got extended. It was they had punted it, and I guess that was
it was an
offsides.
offsides.
Yeah, offsides. And then there was also something else that kept that drive going. That was also, I think it might have been a pass. Was it? I don't know if it was that pass interference call.
There was just too many flags that extended drives for Tampa and ended drives for Kansas City.
Yeah, true.
And that's the frustration. So with that being said, congrats to Tampa Bay again. Now that that's over, who do we like? Who do we think? And remember, let's take into consideration Matt Stafford in LA with the Rams. Who do we like in the Super Bowl for Super Bowl 56 next year?
I'm gonna say. I mean, let me see. I'm just gonna say that KC's gonna be back.
Okay.
I'm just taking a shot in the dark, and I'm biased. I have to say, Green Bay Packers are gonna make. I'm hoping that because Rodgers' hourglass, you know, it's slowly running out. I'm hoping they sign Aaron Jones back.
Have you seen the rumors about Aaron Jones going to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if Aaron Jones does not come back and you have Jamal Williams and
AJ Dillon,
the rookie.
They showed. I mean, it's hard to replace. Somebody like Aaron Jones. Which, if he leaves, I'm not even gonna be mad.
I mean, he did fumble in that NFC title game.
He didn't get on the bus either.
Not that game.
Yeah.
So with that, you're saying Aaron Rodgers, if they have to go through Lambeau, if LA has to go through Lambeau, and if the Bucs have to go through Lambeau again, I would say, yeah, you're right. You probably are gonna have a tough time beating Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau with the cold weather. I'm gonna say yes, but if Aaron Rodgers has to go through Tampa Bay, do you still like that outcome?
No.
Okay.
No.
And we're just totally sidestepping the Los Angeles Rams because I'm not. If I like KC or I like Indianapolis. Like if Deshaun finds his way to Indianapolis or if Deshaun finds his way to San Francisco, we're gonna have to figure that one. It'll shake out. But as it sits right now, KC will go again, as long as everybody's healthy and the tackles don't get hurt with Achilles injuries and Tardif is done battling COVID in Canada. They'll go to the Super Bowl. If the Super Bowl goes through Tampa, so basically whoever gets home field advantage in the NFC will go to the Super Bowl. If Tampa gets home field, they go. If LA gets home field, the LA Rams, they go. If Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay gets home field, they go. Unless the Dallas Cowboys have something to say about all of this, and we know that their fans will gladly contribute Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl 2022 because I already saw it today. We'll leave it right there. We'll let all the Cowboy fans and haters just simmer and let them sit on Super Bowl or bust to version 89 because who knows how many times they've been able to say that.
Well, Tony Romo finally made it.
Tony Romo needs to do a better job whenever he's exiting the bathroom, and that's all I have to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Paul Rodriguez Show. It was ending on a rather weird note, but go check Twitter, go check your social medias about Tony Romo leaving the bathroom a little too soon. All right, James, what do you want to leave the people with?
Come back tomorrow. We'll be back with a whole nother show, and come check us out.
All right, that's the show, guys. We're out.